Hello, everyone. Yeah, we don't have that nice fade out yet, but
yeah, we're working on it.
we're working on it. Andrea, I think this is a beautiful day, and
is.
we have the Shanks Show
Live from San Antonio
live from San Antonio.
with your hosts,
Shanka Ponsoli
and Andrea Ferguson.
woohoo! Come on, Andrea, it's live.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this episode because we have really sparked some debate in our community of folks who may not necessarily agree with Seth Godin, who has a book called The Practice, Shipping Creative Work. And what I really love about his book, it's summed up in a nutshell to me with him simply saying, if it doesn't ship, it doesn't count.
Mhm.
Like if it doesn't go out, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of the principles that he talks about is consistency and how authenticity is a trap or a crock.
Okay.
So what do you think about that? Or should I give a little bit of background of what that means?
Yeah, please give us a
Sure.
little bit more background. And also, this is and can be an interactive session with our audience.
Absolutely. We encourage that.
So whenever you are, wherever you are seeing this, if you use the comment section, actually right now, say hello so that we can greet you. We are on LinkedIn and Facebook, and if we see you, we'll say something back.
Surely.
And then Andrea, yeah, please do give me a little bit of background.
Sure. Okay. So what he talks about is how some people seek to find a posture of trust by using a simple approach, which is say what feels right to you, say what feels real to you, show up authentically. Share your innermost feelings, be your innermost self and your thoughts and all of that. And basically what he argues is that people don't really want that. And that the only people who do show up authentically are babies, like when they throw tantrums, because that's their real authentic self. And everything else you do is with intention. So I have a few quotes and I just thought maybe, we could react to them. So one of them is he says, the choices that led to that moment, to the moment that or the action that we take, were all intentional acts. Do you agree with that?
Well, let me first say that I don't agree with him.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I don't agree with
change of events here.
Godin. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love this.
I think both are important, but I want to also. He makes a point in the video clips that you have shared with me. He makes a good point. He says, if you want to see your surgeon or your lawyer, your banker, you don't want someone who is authentic in that sense where, I don't know, if they are having a bad day or they don't feel like optimal performance that day, you want them to be consistent in good quality, right? You don't want them to say, I have a hangover or whatever.
Or I had a fight with my wife. I'm sorry, I can't do your heart surgery well.
Right. So, and I agree with that. I mean, how can you not agree with that? But we know that we have a lot of friends and business partners who have chosen a way of helping their audience and their community by helping them work through difficult parts of their life, by helping them find themselves, by helping them get coaching through personal and business issues. And quite frankly, there is authenticity required there, because you as a coach or you as someone who has impact on a person and works with them through their world of circumstances, if you don't bring your authentic self to the table, then I don't think you can help them very much. So that's why I think it really depends on who you are as a professional. Yes, surgeon, leave your authenticity at home, just be professional and consistent. But coach, and we have a lot of people like that. Like, for example, Joy is watching us live right now on
Joy.
on LinkedIn, and I'd really be interested in her take on that, because if Joy wasn't authentic, then that could possibly become
okay.
complicated.
let me read a couple more quotes.
Okay.
And I think we'll get to what you're talking about here.
Yep.
So if you're using any sort of self-control, then you're not being authentic. Okay. Another one. If we don't ship the work, no change will happen. If we ship the work to the wrong people, no change will happen. Stop me when something jumps out at you.
Yeah, well, you need to go one by one. I mean, I have thoughts around all of that.
Well,
Let's go back to the first one.
Okay. If you're using any sort of self-control, then you're not being authentic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
that's how he's defining the word authenticity, which obviously will vary.
Well, what if self-control becomes part of your very being? Then you are authentically yourself, and that can be an evolution, because as business owners and entrepreneurs, and also as people who want to get their life in order, you need to learn self-control, because if you can't control yourself, you can certainly not control any outside factors.
But that's when you show up to a job, for example, like as a police officer, you're going to keep that self-control. You're being consistent to the people that you serve. And that's what the whole argument is about. It's not about repressing feelings and not being true, but showing up every day for people, being consistent in the way that they want you to show up, as is expected of you, is what is desired. And I think that I don't want a therapist who tells me how they're feeling all the time. It's harmful. I've been in the church, especially when I have just heard too much. I think we have to look at certain leaders, especially those who are like spiritual leaders or even thought leaders. And there's a responsibility of how much truth you share. And part of your truth is the way that you show up, the behavior, the way you interact with people. They value your he says your audience doesn't want your authentic voice. They want your consistent voice.
I disagree. I really do.
Oh, wow. This is crazy.
I think you need both. I really think you need both. Because if you have a consistently non-authentic person to work with, that very soon gets old. Again, it depends. I don't need that from my lawyer or my banker, but I need that from my coach. And I need
so it really comes down to subjectivity and what capacity and what level authenticity. Like, I truly don't need to know that a divorce coach is in the brink of divorce themselves.
Exactly.
I think that's super hurtful. Another thing he says is we make a promise and we keep it. So not sameness, not repetition, simply work that rhymes, that sounds like you. We make a promise and we keep it. So when we seek out, what we seek out is someone who sees us and consistently keeps their promises to bring us the magic we're hoping for. When you trust yourself enough to turn pro, you're entering into a covenant with those who you seek to serve. You promise to design with intention. So I think what this comes down to is we fundamentally may disagree with how he's defining authenticity, but the principles at its core, we don't necessarily disagree. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to.
No, that would be correct. I mean, you definitely need to be consistent. That is also from someone who builds a business. I mean, you and I, we've come so far. We have a very strong company, which started as freelancing on my end in 2016. And now we have a team of 10 employees. We're moving a lot of money and energy. And if there wasn't consistency in that, it would not have happened.
My goodness. And so I'm going to talk about our community manager, marketing assistant, Ansley Partoza. I'm not sure that you were on the morning call at that point and during our stand-up, but it was hilarious. So she went on a trip to New York. She took some time off for that, a little bit of time off. And when she came back, so she loves social media. She's really great at it. She's a great documenter as well. So I don't know how, she's always, I'm in the moment sometimes, and I think I started out that way, but I kind of moved away from it when I needed to like direct my attention elsewhere. But she does a lot of stories and she does a lot of captions and this and that. So I messed with her and I said, she told me where she was, where she planned to go in terms of the work for the day. And then we talk about blockers. And then I said, oh, Ansley, you posted your New York trip on one of our clients' pages, right? And everybody in the room, in the virtual room, their eyes got wide and some of their jaws dropped. And she said, what did you say? And I said, and I repeated myself, you posted on one of our clients' Facebook. You know that, right? And she said, I don't believe that I did. And she was just so firm and so confident. And I felt like she was, after I said, no, I'm just kidding. And she was like, she, broke a smile, but everyone else like started laughing and gasping and everything. And that to me is like the type of inauthentic that Seth Godin talks about, like where you show up to work and you do your job no matter how you feel. Like she kept that together because it was like she wasn't showing how she actually truly felt, which was like, oh my God, did I do that? Like freaking out or, saying whatever came first thing to mind. I really think she's mastered the ability to come in and be consistent. And even in the face of like hard times. And so Seth Godin actually goes into how like the type of inauthenticity that we do like is when professionals, champions, leaders, and heroes show up day after day, working hour after hour.
Yeah.
Being inauthentic in that way. Like nobody knows that they're tired. Nobody knows that somebody's ankle is sore. And they show up and they get their job done, patiently persist in the face of criticism, or even to just merely show up on a regular basis. Like, and that's true. Like, I don't need to know every single time somebody's stomach hurts. Like, pop a Tums and like get it together. Like, if we're at a client meeting or if there's something that really needs to be done, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have self-care or anything. But in a world in 2022 where everybody is saying, be your authentic self, always be true, always share, I don't think that's what should be the fallback.
Yeah, I agree with that version of the definition for sure. And so it is about being consistent and not being too authentic in your consistency.
Yeah.
And I have really a good analogy because I happen to be very consistent person. And I started doing a few things recently that even take me to another level of consistency that I have to grow in. And that is, and you participate in that, we are part of a program, a mentorship program with Sinead Moray, where we are required to create content every day. And that is just really, really requires such a high level of consistency, because when the day is busy, we still do it. I sometimes do it, like even if I can't get to it until 7 p.m., I'll still do it. The other part, what we have started as Shanks, is a daily Zoom call for people who want to participate as part of Shanks Academy, where every morning I need to show up at 8 a.m. Central Time for the people who rely on my guidance every day to get an idea for content. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it because I'm still tired or hungry, and then I need to be inauthentic in that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that, and then the other part, where we started Shanks.club, and every Monday the community expects a training video that we release there. And yeah.
Keyword expectation, right?
Yeah.
And you get what you paid for. Like if I go to a restaurant that serves Mexican food and the chef's like, this isn't really authentic, like I'm going to switch it up. I don't want that. Like I'm going to do Chinese today. That's because that's authentic for me. I don't want your authenticity. I want what you said you're going to give me. Be consistent with that. that's why I think that it is, I also think it's a trap, according, like you said, to this definition, and why you learn with Shanks Academy and you learn at Shanks.club how to be your authentic self, and that you're not being a person that's not really you. That's not what anybody is saying. And I could see how people would take that away. But you have to learn that. You have to develop that muscle. You have to learn how to be consistent. And you have to grow into what it means to show up for people, still be who you are, but above all, be consistent. You really do learn that. And I am in Shanks Academy because I am doing this with you. Everything you learn, all of the knowledge transfer. And I learned, oh, okay, so I need to cover myself and help my audience by just showing up for them and doing it this way. So I speak to them in a certain way too. And I think that is really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And if you are curious what we mean by those daily calls, the Shanks Academy, go to socialmediacontentmaster.com, socialmediacontentmaster.com, and have a look what that is. You can actually try it out with us for just $1 for your first week. And I will say, if someone here who watches us wants to join us in the conversation, I can send you a guest link here. So just let me know in the comments and can bring you on and have a conversation if you want that. But
it must be Inception right now for our viewers. We have like 4 screens for our viewing audience to look through. So have fun with that.
Yeah. I truly, taking a little bit back to the title of the live stream here, is consistency really the key to success? And I think it is.
Yeah.
I really think it is, because you have to have a vision, you have to have a dream, and then consistently do whatever it takes to get to it.
100%. I mean, Olympians, we talk about this all the time so much. Like, come hell or high water, they're training. Come hell or high water, they're going to that event.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water, they're going to progress towards their goals, because they know if I don't hit this benchmark by Q2, Q2, or whatever their deadline is, I am literally not going to be an Olympian. And nobody trains 4 years to not have a shot at winning gold or silver, bronze, or anything.
Let's, if you will, I'm interested in each of us telling a story of how consistency led to success in whatever success meant for us at that time. Can you think about something top of your mind, or should I go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
I'm still thinking.
Yeah, so definitely, I am here. I live in the United States, in San Antonio precisely, and that's the realization of my childhood dream. And it took so much consistency and alignment to get myself to a point where that is even possible. Consistency started at a time where I didn't even know that I was going to be able to legally be here in the United States. Consistency started at a time where I didn't even master the English language. Consistency started at a time where I was not a professional. I was a high school student when I made up my mind to come. But I knew at any point throughout the journey that I needed to be consistent in setting up circumstances, skills, resources that would allow me to eventually, when the stars would align, take advantage of the opportunity. And that meant several things. That meant becoming a good student of the English language. That meant not creating circumstances where I would be hold back once the opportunity would show. Things such as commitments, long-term commitments, financial long-term commitments, family commitments, starting a family, starting a business, things like that. That also meant that in my development in terms of skills, I had to always work on, I mentioned the English language, but I also made sure that I kept honing my skills, my strengths. While I was working in law enforcement, I started long distance studies with a university in the UK called Open University. And I just always also spoke this future into my reality. A lot of people know the vision board, where you visually represent what you want to have. I like to use the power of the word and the power of language to paint that vision board into my life every day. And a lot of my colleagues with whom I went on patrol, they probably were fed up with how much I spoke of immigration to the US and painting that picture. So and then when the opportunity came in 2010, after consistently playing the green card lottery for 4 years, my name was drawn, and I went through the whole process, and I was ready to actually take advantage of the situation, because what the immigration department does is they don't give you years and years to make up your mind whether you want to become a US resident or not. You have 1 to 3 years ish where you can kind of prepare your situation to leave, but then they kind of revoke your green card if you don't make the move. So that's really one element of success in my personal life that led towards so much happiness and satisfaction that I owe to consistency. And it's not a business example, but it's such a fundamental example that matters to me.
Yeah, I love that. I just want to say that I think it cannot be when you're learning language, especially, I'm going to tell you, because I taught for over a decade, and most of that was in another language. So, or teaching other languages, teaching English, for example, it doesn't matter how good you are, if you don't practice it consistently, if you don't read it consistently, if you don't write it consistently, reading, writing, speaking it consistently, you will not master the language. And even if you do, you're not going to be culturally competent enough to do anything with it. And so it is such a consistent part of your life that and you know this, you have vivid dreams in the language, you think in the language, and to be able to do that when you have all of these other things going on really does speak to your desire. And if you think about it, whatever you do the most you're best at most of the time, that is consistency. If you complain a lot, you're consistent at that, and you're the best at that, that's going to dominate all your thoughts. If you are, and we know that, I guess the person I'm thinking of is Tatiana Torres from, she is so consistent with her mood, comes in happy, comes in bubbly, that's her brand, really,
Yep. That's a good example.
And people will remember you by your consistency and how you show up. But that is such a wonderful story, because to get anywhere, especially with immigration in 4 years, I mean, people could give up after the first and be like, okay, not in the cards for me. And then you just don't succeed at whatever that endeavor is. You have to keep chipping away at the ice block. You have to keep digging until you hit gold. You have to keep going in the midst of adversity and keep persevering. And it doesn't really matter how great your idea is. If the work doesn't ship, it doesn't count. It really, truly doesn't. For all those people out there saying, and I know them, I invented this before so-and-so did. Well, did you get a patent? No. Did you make the blueprint for it? No. Did you submit it anywhere? No? Well, then it doesn't count. It's easy for everybody to say, I made this design, or I invented this device, or I thought of the microwave first. Like, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count.
No.
So people will remember you by your consistency, because that's how you change the world anyway. When you ship your work and it's out there and you affect people by your customers or by your team or whoever, that's what matters. And that can only happen because you make an effort to work on it over time and put it out into the universe. So I appreciate that example.
Well, do you have one now, or?
No, I mean, I can't.
just put you on
after
the spot
that one.
there.
Well, I mean, I was thinking a lot about how consistent I had to be, and I have kind of a counter example, really. Okay. I was working towards my international public health nutrition master's in the UK, and I had all kinds of things happen. I went on like I remember at some point I asked, at what point do I have to matriculate? Like, how long do I really have to do this? And I think it was something like 4 years. So when like the rubber met the road and it got really hard, I just stopped. I just took a break. And at the time, it seemed like that's what I had to do. But I know for a fact that if I was just consistent enough, I could have finished that in 1 year. And so when I finally did get back at it, I did make no excuses. I was taking care of my baby nephew, who at the time could not walk. I was his sole caretaker for most of the day. And I had made a decision. I'm going to finish this degree. I really don't have enough time anyway to play before that window closes. When I tell you, I woke up to him looking at me, looking at him. He was on his crib, just peeking over, waiting for me to wake up and take care of him, feed him, or do whatever every single day. And do you know, it got to the point where I knew, okay, I am never going to be able to do all of these things. God bless the caretakers out there, the moms, the aunts. We see y'all, because it is not an easy thing to do. There is no way, if I had not set up these little helpful things along the way to help me excel and overcome some of the barriers and challenges that I had, that I would have succeeded. And the way that I kept myself consistent was, I literally, you're going to laugh at this, I plastered the walls with all of the information that I needed to retain for one of the exams that I proctored from the college across the road from my house. And that was the only way I could do it. Yeah. I slept when he slept. I was up when he was up. I had him in one hand. I mean, I remember I had to go to the bathroom and have him in. It's a lot to do. And by the way, you really need muscles to carry kids. Like, that's so underrated.
It sounds like you've had a kid,
Oh, yeah.
You went through early motherhood.
I always told myself, if I never have a kid, I had a kid.
Yeah.
Because I know what that was like. I know what it was like to stay up really late and be like, I don't have any other time to study. I don't have any other time I have to meet this teacher online or whatever to talk to them during their office hours. This is the only time they're available. They're consistent. I have to match that consistency. Plastering the walls, I remember I had the ceiling plastered with like different anatomy or whatever it was that I needed to memorize in order to understand like the way the nutritional science works. Stats was really difficult. I somehow managed to do that. And I had these little things that helped me to be consistently, every time I had my nephew on my chest while I was like, helping him go to bed at night or whatever, I was looking up at that wall consistently every night, memorizing everything that I needed to learn. And that was the only way that I could do it. So I did end up actually getting a distinction and getting honors because I was driven enough to learn the course material. And then, of course, I had to show that I could apply it. But that's one of the hardest things that I ever had to do in my life, was make a decision that I am not going to stop because of the extenuating circumstances that I have. And then I did end up graduating. But it was that contrast, right? So I had all of that time before to be consistent and graduate on time and I didn't. And then I had this really weird period of time where I was forced to be, lest I not get the degree that I was going after.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, you know, if people out there want to work or be influenced by a consistent team, they should definitely reach out to us.
100%.
We have that for you, either in the form of you being one of our agency clients, which is more of a format where we do a lot of stuff for you. But then there's also the mentorship aspect, and again, social media contentmaster.com goes beyond being daily content calls. I truly believe that I include mentorship in there. And Andrea, by the way, she offers mentorship too. It's not quite as formalized, but she does have a client whom she helps, a woman who needs to coordinate a lot of things in life. And I think that if someone else out there is interested to do that with you, they should definitely reach out to you.
Absolutely. And shout out to all the women that have the inner strength to be able to do that. And if you need a little bit of support, you know, as he said, I just wanted to point out Joy's comment, which was, you've described the responsibility of looking after a baby. Haha. It is a commitment for life, but you learn to work around what the baby wants. Congrats on sticking with your studies. Thank you, Joy. That means so much.
Joy, you commented so much, and for whatever reason, it didn't come through.
I heard the notifications, but I wasn't sure if
let's go through it, because Joy, by the way, guys, reach out to Joy if you really need
Joy Langley.
Yeah, if you need someone as a professional or an ambitious individual in general, if you need someone who guides you, coaches you toward personal development, you need to reach out to her. Think of her as a Tony Robbins in the UK, right?
But a Black woman, so even better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. who has basically thought a little bit more about how can I be very efficient, reduce your time commitment to an absolute minimum, and lay out a path, a series of steps and exercises and processes where you can grow into what you need to be, either in professional or personal life.
Yeah, and if you talk to her one time, you feel like you will have known her all your life, like she feels like home. Don't you feel that way? Like you talk with Joy and you're like,
yeah,
we've known each other for so long.
Oh yeah, it's like having a wise grandmother or mother, you know, who
I'd say aunt.
Aunt, okay. Yeah, that's better. Well, I'll stick with grandmother.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
The wise.
The wise.
No one tops a grandmother's wisdom.
Exactly. So let's see what she says here. She says, authenticity is essential. Seth is talking about creative freedom, ? But perhaps we shouldn't make it compete with the word consistency. The consistency is needed to help you get things done and ship your product. I am with you, Joy. You get me. Thank you. I think that's
the capacity is all. I mean, in the context that he's talking is about creativity and shipping creative work. So
she was way more eloquent about what I tried to say. But thank you, Joy. Next, she says, it's impossible to show your true feelings all of the time. Agree. Because you'd make enemies and lose a lot of friends.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Like, I love that.
Yeah.
And that's where she sides with Seth, right?
Yes.
And we accept the concept of little white lies, the ability to bend the truth a teeny bit. Oh yeah, it is a social norm to have. Actually, I would say sometimes it is expected of you to use little white lies as a a tool to appease the situation, to not make it
does
worse.
everybody want to know that you had bowel problems and that's why you were late? Like, probably not, right? So
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's see. Woo, she was at it here. She said, we have an inner compass. Compass?
Compass, yep.
We have an inner compass and inner alarm, a bit of an on-off button that goes off when we lie to ourselves.
Oh, that's
The
a good
word
one.
consistency is really close to being self-disciplined.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Further on, she says, you've described the responsibility of looking after a baby. So it's a commitment for life, but you learn to work around what you want, what the baby wants.
I mean, if you are an unselfish parent, yes. But I have seen, there are some parents that don't know how to use those white lies. They are too authentic with their children, and children just need their parents to be parents sometimes. Like,
That's
they
true.
don't need to know every nasty detail that happened in the divorce or like XYZ about their grandparents or their family. So yeah, be consistent with your kids.
And then she says, I am the mommy energy. So
I love it.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thanks, Joy.
Thank you so much. That makes the lives really fun.
Yeah.
Andrea, do you have any comments on your version of the stream? Can you check on your phone? Because this was on mine.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just I don't want to miss anybody's comments because I almost
No,
missed.
it showed up on mine as well.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, I think she really rounded it up.
She rounded it up. Yeah, she summed it up well.
Summed it up. Yeah.
I think so.
So reach out to Andrea, myself, Joy.
Connect with Joy Langley.
Yeah, definitely connect with her. And I appreciate the conversation. I can only promise you
more of them.
Yeah.
Consistency,
right?
Yeah,
Consistency. And again, if you work with us in no matter what capacity that would be as an agency client, we actually, Andrea and I own and run a healthcare marketing and public relations agency, and we have a deep understanding of alternative healthcare delivery models, alternative healthcare benefits, and if you need something in that area where you need a consistent partner, reach out to us. If you need someone who just consistently guides you through applying consistency to your online visibility, go to socialmediamaster.com.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us today. We appreciate your time so much, because you could have done anything with it. You could have given it anywhere, but you chose to give it to us. So we appreciate that.
All right. Have a wonderful Saturday. Oh, Andrea didn't want me to say Saturday because now it's no longer evergreen content. But have
a wonderful day.
I was too authentic here.
Yeah. We'll see y'all later.
All right. We'll sign off. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.